Welcome back to another edition of Winter Sowing. So we have gotten our jugs out. It has been a month or more for some of these. I actually just put some of these out beginning of April because I didn't have enough jugs until then. So they'll still be growing ahead of me putting them in the ground. So that's totally okay. So what do I need to do with them between now and Mother's Day when I can get these plants in the ground? So first thing, we just had a warmer day here in Minnesota, and I can see that some of my jugs have no condensation on the outside. So I have got my water, and I'm gonna come out here, and some of these are pretty light. So I can kind of feel they need some more water added to them. It's really critical to keep them moist, or the seeds will not be able to germinate. Or if they started to germinate, they'll dry out and they'll cook in these little greenhouses. I am also concerned that the weather's going to be a little hot when we've had such a temperate, cool spring, and we've really jumped in temperature. So my milk jugs are not ready for that, especially because I know the temperature's dropping back down again in a few days. I'm going to move all these babies into the shade. I don't want them to get so hot. The seeds really would prefer to have a stable temperature increase. So these guys are all getting moved to the shade for the next few days, and then when the temperature goes back down, I'll move them back into the sun so they can continue that gradual warm up. And it's weather, right? So you just never know what's coming. So we have to be mindful and just take care of these little babies, because the work is gonna be worth it, right? How many jugs I have out here, some of them have a whole seed pack inside of them. All these little seedlings, that's hundreds of dollars that I am saving, not purchasing seedlings, but getting a head start in my garden. So I'm not waiting to put seeds in the ground until things have really warmed up. There are probably some seeds I could stick in the ground, but I just haven't gotten to working the soil and getting things worked up yet. So this is an easy peasy way for me to get my radishes going, some peas, things that I just don't have time to stick in the ground yet. I can get them started in my winter sowing buckets and then get my garden worked up and get it woken up soon. So while we're waiting for things, once the temperatures start to really kind of more standard increase, I will open up, I will untape my jugs in the shade. So when we have days in the like 60s, 70s more regularly, I'll just start by untaping them. So that will kind of lose their moisture and they'll kind of have to adjust to that. Then I'll move them out into the sun after a few days of just being untaped. I'll open them up and move them into the sun, again making sure they're well watered, and then they'll kind of like acclimate to just being on their own. So it's not as bad as bringing them inside, bringing them outside, bringing them inside, bringing them outside, and they do pretty well and they revive pretty quickly. Like if I didn't water it and I left it out in the sun too long and splash it with some water, they usually revive pretty well. They're pretty hardy because they've been growing outside. So thanks for growing Green Wonder with me. Be sure to like and subscribe to follow more tips and see how all these little plant babies do. I hope yours are coming up. Be sure to let me know what you're excited to see growing in your garden too. Thanks for joining me.